Again, I think our colleagues are ready, but just
I'm joined here by the MSc of Transport in Gauteng, Mr. Ishmael Vadi. Kanye on my left here is the chairperson of the board of PRASA, as well as I'm joined by the rail safety regulator to come and see for ourselves the scene of this very, very unfortunate incident. I must just say up front, that I'm truly saddened about this continuing deaths of commuters with Metro Rail. I therefore would like to start by expressing my condolences to the families of those who have passed away, and also wish those who have been injured a speedy recovery. But I must also say that it's more than just a concern. In fact, I am personally outraged, I would like to put it that way, that we can't every time be having the repeat of the same problems. And we are saying, as government, we have to bring this to an end. Let me tell you that I think the first thing management has to account to us, frankly, of PRASA, as to how come we are spending so much money on security, yet we continue having this cable theft. We are not saying that the criminals must get away with murder, but we are spending such a lot of money and it looks like it's business as usual. These security companies have been taking hundreds of millions of rands from our Metro Rail, but there isn't a big difference that is seen. Cape Town, it was the same story. Cameras were supposed to be put in, they have not been working for years. I am demanding accountability this time. I've said to the chair of the board, I want an answer within the next few days as to what action is being taken to deal with security. Of course, we have to engage communities so that communities are our partners. They are able often to help us to manage the situation and even to help us deal with theft and all that. But it is very important that from now onwards, no security company must get a tender from PRASA if it is not able to demonstrate what it has done in order to be able to deal with this. Otherwise, we turn PRASA into an ATM. I'm sorry. And it's not just an ATM, but it's people's lives. And it's ordinary working class people who possibly have lost breadwinners today because of this continuing thing. As I say, we do need a multi-pronged strategy, but there must be accountability at the end of the day. That is what I would like to see happening. I would like to see an explanation, and also I would like to see the rail regulator going very deep into this. Maybe, Chair and MEC, it's time also that we as a department just actually find a way of looking comprehensively into rail safety in this country. The regulator has got its role, but we might have to look at the whole issue of safety of Metro Rail and what actually needs to be done and go to the bottom of this.
Minister, was cable theft the cause of this accident?
That's the immediate cause, yes. The cable theft, which leads to the fact that then our signaling systems are not working, and then we are actually then using manual authorizations of the trains. Like today, clearly there must have been a miscommunication somewhere, and we are saying we must deal with those things when we are having this situation. But what I wouldn't like is to put the blame on ordinary workers. They can't be the ones who are always taking the blame, and then the people who are supposed to account are not actually accounting. It's very important that we look at the security. My biggest worry, as I say, the monies that we are spending on security in PRASA, how do we really account for that? We know also, the regional manager was telling me now that this stretch, I don't know from where to where, is one of the known problematic stretches. Why can't we devise ways and means to try and actually protect this in a particular way if we are really serious? It really just can't be business as usual, that people are just going to be chowing government money and yet people are being killed like this. It must just come to an end.
Minister,
Minister Patricia Pasachia from the SABC. Cable theft, as you are mentioning, it seems to be the preliminary indication. Can we get a clear were the cables stolen, which point, when, so we have an indication what it is that we are talking about here, if it is cable theft that might be the preliminary indication?
Well, I haven't got that detailed briefing. That is the briefing that I would like to have within the next few days. I have asked the rail regulator within the next few days to actually give me a preliminary report. Together with PRASA, I need to get a preliminary report which then would actually point out the exact spot, because there are still also investigations that are ongoing. The very immediate indication now is that cable theft is actually the problem. But you are right to ask that question, because we need to know exactly how did that happen, so that we are able to know for the purposes of trying to deal with this matter differently in future.
Minister, last year, Minister Pretoria from Open News, last year the North Gauteng High Court ruled that cars should, be in regulation with safety measures. What does this say of safety measures? The affected victims earlier on, and they're saying this has become an ongoing problem. What does this say about safety measures, Minister?
Well, as I've said, that clearly there is a challenge, there is a huge gap about our safety measures. That's not saying we're condoning the criminals who may be stealing copper and other things, but it's something that just needs to be elevated now. And I need answers, Who is actually having these tenders for security here? What have they committed to? What is the deal saying about? Because if you have got an arrangement with PRASA, you must know that it's not just your normal place where you are just maybe looking at buildings and so on. Maybe there are hardly any problems once in a while. This is just too much. And we know the areas that are a problem. And what is it that we put down in order to guarantee that those things are able to be dealt with? Rail security is really a very serious matter. We agree. I agree we need a comprehensive approach. That will involve the police, that will involve PRASA security, that will have to involve communities and so on. But people who are playing particular roles in their responsibilities must account, including security. Can't just say we're going to go to communities and then not attend to the fact that, yes, we have to go to communities, but have you been doing enough as security to be able to do this? In this country we are in these problems, and some of the problems we've had, because we've had no accountability. We have got state-owned companies being looted, being skinned, and these are the products of it, The people who is suffering is ordinary working class people who are getting killed and getting injured. That is why that if we are to actually stop this thing, we need to go to the bottom of it. We just cannot continue like this.
Perhaps, once again from Open News, how much are the costs? How much are we looking at here?
Well, in the immediate evaluation that has been done now, just for today, is 21 million rands. That's 21 million rands going down the drain. Yet we've got huge challenges that we have as PRASA in terms of putting in infrastructure that is actually needed to run a much safer and a much faster train service.
Well, Linda, we shouldn't shy away, Minister, from the fact that we have a railway service might be the reason why this has happened, but we have incidents where it was not theft, and in fact it was the fact. And just give an example, the fact that they have a pending case that is actually taking place, it means that there is a problem in terms of the fact that they do not meet the regulatory standards of the regulator. But what I'm saying is, let us not shy away from that, Minister. What are we saying now as the government? Are we saying that, in fact, Metro Rail should be allowed to continue, even tomorrow, to commute people?
We have not said that the sole problem, or maybe even the origins of the problem, is theft. Yes, theft is playing a very important role, but we need to look at the totality of the problem. I mean, one of the things I had to deal with when I was appointed minister early last year, was the fact that PRASA was in court, being claimed by all and everybody that PRASA is owing us this or that. Most of those cases we found out, in fact, that that was not the case. So all those are actually part of the problem. In other words, we must just play no games when it comes to security.
Yes.
We must have no chances. We must have people to actually clearly commit. We are not saying we must break the law, but there is no reason to continue with the security company that just gets away with this. And we are the ones who come here having got to come and explain when they are actually not here and they are nicely visiting the bank every month to actually get money without doing anything. That is why I am saying, the long and short of what I'm saying, we want a full investigation from all angles. Management has got to account. We want the rail regulator to actually do its job. Of course, we do need to find mechanisms. What I had said before, in terms of from PRASA as well as with the rail regulator, we need to find a way of dealing with the issue of safety, ideally cooperatively, so that the rail regulator doesn't only act when there is a problem, for instance, or it doesn't act like a traffic cop. Traffic cops is something separate. We need them to act in those ways sometimes on our roads. But we need a cooperative way to say, what is it that has actually been done? For instance, they have made recommendations to PRASA to say, here are the gaps and what is it that needs to be done. I want also, when I get a report, to be able to get that, to say, what have you done in terms of all this? We just cannot allow this thing to happen, without accountability. That is what we are saying. We need people to account.
Sorry, Minister, but will it be a responsible decision to continue to allow them to operate, even after so many incidents, particularly because tomorrow is the opening of schools and there are a lot of pupils, in fact, that will be using this particular service?
What we expect, look, it's a tricky issue, that one. You can't shut down Metro Rail. There's a reality. Despite the problems that we have, we can't shut down Metro Rail, because if you shut it down, it's millions of passengers who actually get affected. You also raise the issue of schooling. What we expect, for instance, is for some people not to sleep today and say, if we open this line and we know that there are problems here, and where are the other areas, what is it that we are going to do to ensure that those parents or those school kids are able to actually travel safely? Because to just shut everything down creates... So we must have responsibility also as government and as providers of these services to say, yes, we must make it secure, but at the same time we can't then end up just inconveniencing everybody all at the same time.
But at what extent do we keep allowing Metro Rail to continue to operate while we understand that there are problems that even today have cost a human life?
That's why we are saying we want accountability, and I want an explanation. That's the best way we are actually going to deal with this. That it can't just happen and then we issue a statement, and so on, and it's business as usual. What we are saying is that it can't be business as usual. And I am going to be formalizing what I'm saying now to you today, to the structures, to PRASA, to the rail regulator, and say, this is what we would like to see happen. And people who have been found to be in the wrong must be irrespective of their level.
Minister, Patricia Fasaki from the SABC again. Let's just go back to 2018, where we recorded about 5 serious train accidents. Just January last year. This feels like deja vu, where we dealt with the Social Rosa Mail incident, where about 18 lives were claimed. And we heard the same narrative: accountability, decisive action, comprehensive strategy to counter this. And the blame going to the security companies. But we're not really seeing an end to the problem. It is reoccurring. And as you said, millions of lives are at stake here, because we're dealing with the grassroots majority. We have no other alternative but to depend on these trains that have become moving caskets. So how do we deal with this issue?
It would be incorrect to say nothing has been done since those incidents have happened. We can account for things that have been done. Clearly it's not enough. That is what we are saying. For instance, we have asked PRASA. PRASA has gone to Parliament. You, as journalists, you should have familiarized yourself with that. to come with a strategy to deal with some of these things. Clearly, some of the things are not working, but it would not be correct to speak as if nothing has been done. Clearly, it's inadequate. We need more action. We need more stringent measures to be able to deal with this situation going forward.
But it just talk shop, though?
No, it's not talk shop. We can't actually be just doing talk when people's lives are being lost. So that is why I am saying I need an explanation the next couple of days from the rail regulator, from PRASA, including management, to tell me. I'm not interested who is having a tender of security, but what I'm interested is what are these people doing. But we are not only blaming security. Those security people are not the ones who employ themselves. So we're saying, management, give us a reason why should these people be continuing to claim to be providing services when they're actually not doing a good job. But also be careful, we don't want to be going all over the place as if we are rationalizing this. We are, though, having in a number of our state-owned companies a culture of impunity. That's what this is also a reflection of. You know, that we've actually been having a lot of state-owned companies where things have been happening and nothing has been done. And as government, it would be incorrect to say that we have not started acting. With PRASA itself, I have a new board, interim as it is, that I've actually appointed, and I've given them very clear tasks in terms of what needs to be done. And that is a building block to be able to deal with this problem. And also, let's not fool ourselves. Some of the problems are not going to be dealt with overnight, because it's actually, there is deep going rot that had actually seeped into PRASA itself. It has played we are in.
Perhaps what my colleague is that similar things were said during all of these incidents. We've been watching them on TV, but nothing has been done. And in fact, tomorrow, this route might be closed, but several others will be opened. And therefore, it leads to the fact that there is no accountability from PRASA. They do not feel the pinch in terms of the fact that they need to comply. Do you believe that they should be allowed, in fact, to operate still?
But I've answered that. I've really answered. Because we are now repeating the same question that I've answered. I'm saying we have to balance between security and provision of services. Are you asking me now to say to you, I'm going to shut 4 million passengers? The whole country. Is that what you are wanting me to say?
I guess what we are asking then, Minister, not to argue, is the fact that alternative transport is needed for this community. We know that these are the poorest of the poor in terms of the commuters. But are we giving them alternative transport enough?
That's a different question now that you are asking.
Okay. Can I
about alternative transport.
That's the reason why they are here, Minister. That's the reason why they use this transport.
Can we not have a dialogue, sir? You can ask your question, and Madam, you are the last. Then we're closing.
Minister Pelana Pahari from the News 24. I've seen in the Val when there was the water contamination, they called in the SANDF to try and man the situation so that the contamination is no more in the area. Don't you think that perhaps it's about time that we see some sort of deployment, even if it's not in full force, to try and assist in the security of such national key assets where the transportation of people we call our loved ones happen?
The army. Is that what we are saying? We should call the army? No.
Not really saying that. I mean, specialized people. We have environmental...
We're not yet there. We can't actually be piling solutions on top of solutions that are not working. We must address the solutions that are not working. If you look at some... Because PRASA has taken some measures in some instances on security. Some of them are beginning to bear fruit. Let's not ignore that. For instance, if you look at Cape Town, there is a significant improvement now in terms of the banning of trains and so on. There were measures that we put in place there, which means that what can we learn from those measures rather than to jump? I believe that if we are able to sort out security between PRASA security and the police and working with the communities, we can actually find a solution and close these leakages of people who think that they're just going to be getting cheap tenders. I don't know how do people sleep when we have got a tender and people are mourning today. They've got their loved ones in mortuaries, actually. I know money has no morality. I learned that a long time ago. But we do need to ensure that there is this accountability in order to be able to deal with this particular problem. And that people must deliver services that they've actually been contracted to do.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Last question.
Isabel from Network 24, Minister. You touched some of your earlier remarks. So long enough to make that they will go to an automated or computerized system. How is that process going? Is it something that will be that will soon be implemented or not?
PRASA can give you the finest details about that. What I know for a fact is that is in PRASA's turnaround strategy. The issue of installation of signaling, it is already happening in some stations. But then the problem, you put in signaling here, and then you have got theft, and then we're back to square one. You actually have got to do manually, which then actually contributes to these kinds of mistakes that cause problems. And PRASA is actually doing that. Maybe what we need, Chair, to be talking about is how do we accelerate this. But also there is no point in accelerating when we have got security companies that are unable to actually protect that infrastructure.
Minister, we can say that particularly in Gauteng, where we are, is that the automated, for lack of a better word, the center is being handed over to PRASA. Over the December period, there was quite a lot of work being done. Stations had to be closed off, some of this temporarily, so that the system could properly. That points out the fact that we take 2 steps forward and another 3 backwards is a real concern for PRASA, in that the security hasn't been as great, and we as the board of PRASA have committed to Minister that we will ensure that nobody is paid to do work that they are not doing. But we can give you the assurance that we are not starting from scratch, that the system, we have seen it ourselves as a board.
All right, so that's where we leave that particular briefing that's taking place at the scene of that train crash in Pretoria. The minister saying he's personally outraged, but the bulk of the problem seems to be laid at the door of cable theft, which resulted in a malfunctioning of the system, which required that they go manual and led to the miscommunication, at least as it's being put by the minister and Metro Rail officials tonight.